We have carried out perfidy. We have assassinated leaders, and we have murdered school children. And this was all based upon the horrific advice provided to this president by Pete Hegseth, a man who removed the rules that prevented America from slipping down the path of unconstrained war crimes and created a situation where we slaughtered 170 school children because we forgot that there's this thing called the law of war.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea?
Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
If you take the video and slow it down, you'll see it's a tomahawk. How could it possibly have been done by Iran? Who could have given him that information? On what could he have based it?
Well, first of all, he knows. First of all, that the tomahawk that you see is the second strike, the double tap. This came after 4 tomahawks struck this facility, and this is what the American people. It's a larger facility. We hit 4 targets there. The initial strike, 2 warehouses in the left hand, or I don't know the orientation, but if you look at a photograph, the left hand side, two warehouses that were empty because there's no smoke, no secondary explosions. We struck a main hospital building. I'll get to that in a second. Smoke came out of that, so the targeteers assumed that we had achieved the desired effects there. And then we struck another facility about the same size as the warehouses in the upper right-hand corner. This happened to be the school, the secondary school for girls aged 6 to 12. We struck that facility, but there was a 5th cruise missile. These are Tomahawk Block 4s. The 5th cruise missile was the contingency cruise missile. This is the one that circled over the site, sending imagery back to the destroyer that launched these cruise missiles, so that people could evaluate whether or not the desired effects had been achieved, and if not, to restrike. They made a decision that the 2 warehouses were sufficiently struck because you had holes in the roof, no secondary, empty facilities. The hospital, which they didn't believe was a hospital, but it was a hospital, had been struck, smoke coming out, meaning you achieved the results. This is a warhead that has dual capability. It penetrates and then blows up inside. So if you got a hole in the roof and you got smoke coming out, it means that you achieve significant damage inside. Then you have the 3rd facility that had been struck, partial collapse. But here they saw people running around. Here they saw people moving in, assembling, people coming in off the streets. And a decision was made that this must be a very important site. So they sent the cruise missile in to strike it. But not just that, it didn't just hit with the dual phase warhead. The Block 4 has the capacity to take unexpended fuel and use it as a fuel air explosive to create a thermobaric effect. And so this missile went in to the building, didn't just explode conventionally, but went in with a thermobaric effect, a deliberate choice made by the targeteers. Now, what had happened, though, is that first missile that hit the school. And the majority of the students survived. There were some that were killed in the initial strike, but the teachers took the survivors and moved them into the prayer hall, which was a part of the facility that remained intact. They called up the parents, most of whom lived locally. The parents began to arrive to pick up their children. Majority were concentrated in this prayer hall when the decision was made to restrike. This cruise missile came down, penetrated, blew up, and then the thermobaric explosion hit. Listen to how the parents described the condition of their children's bodies. Burned to a crisp. There was nothing left. This was a deliberate action by American planners. We know how many cruise missiles were struck. Each cruise missile had a target put into it. We know that there was a restrike. We know this without any doubt. The President of the United States is either a liar or has been told bad information, and Hegseth knows the truth. Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. This war cannot end with Hegseth still in charge. He must be removed from power and preferably arrested. And let me tell you why. See, the United States, even though we're not a signatory to the additional protocol of the 1949 Geneva Conventions, the additional protocols 1977, we adopted them as part of our a manual for the law of war, the law of war manual, Department of Defense, and it requires us to use discretion when striking. We have to determine that there is no civilian target. This is a requirement under the rule of law. I've done targeting in combat. I can tell you we do this. We don't allow artificial intelligence to pick these targets, assign grids to them, and just strike them out on a whim. But that's what we did because we eliminated the requirement to adhere to the law of war. Pete Hegseth did this. In 2023, Joe Biden's Department of Defense put forward a directive called the Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response Directive. This required the Department of Defense at every level to have a team who looked over every target to determine whether or not this target was a military target or civilian target. We knew that this facility in 2016 cut off that site. We knew in 2016 that became a elementary school. We knew this because it was public information, but artificial intelligence doesn't pick up on that. Artificial intelligence was simply told within this compound to find buildings of a sufficient size that could be used to hide cruise missiles or drones or anything like that. So we're doing a preemptive strike to take out facilities believed to be capable of. So we hit 2 empty warehouses, we hit a hospital, and we hit a school. Welcome to the targeting. This would have not happened had Pete Hegseth not canceled this directive. Had this directive been in place, we would have a team of targeteers, specially trained to go through the intelligence and ensure that we don't strike anything that remotely resembles a civilian target. And this was a knowable. We had the information that it was a school. It's just that artificial intelligence bypassed that. But we took out the human element. We struck it. We murdered these kids. Pete Hegseth murdered these kids. Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. This war cannot end with Pete Hegseth still in charge. He must be removed and held accountable. If this president wants, he can blame it all on Pete. Said he was lied to by Pete, whatever. But somebody's head has to roll. We murdered 170 children. It wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act of war carried out by the United States in violation of our own laws, in violation of international law.
Why did Hegseth permit this to happen?
Because he wants to be lethal. Pete Hegseth is the idiot who lectured 800 generals and admirals last October in Quantico about the need to forego wokeism, to forego the rules. We cannot be constrained by these rules of engagement. We have to be lethal. We have to kill, kill, kill. That's what this testosterone-infused madman wanted. So he got rid of the rules so that we could go out there and kill, kill, kill. Well, we did. We murdered 170 plus school children. There has to be a price paid by this. The United States cannot be allowed to perpetrate this crime and walk away free.